Liz, of course, you're a mum of 3 as well as being a parenting expert. And this is something that's really got your be in your bonnet going, hasn't it?
It has, I'm afraid, purely on sort of personal experience. And I think primary school is just too young for some of the things that they are taught within sex education. And it really, the moment for me was when my 10-year-old, my youngest, when he was 10, he was in year 6, the last year at primary school. He's a happy, relaxed little boy playing football, playing Minecraft and all that stuff. He did his sex education that term that they did at school. And within weeks, suddenly, he didn't want to be seen naked. He didn't want to see me naked at all. Well, he'd been completely relaxed about this before. I won't go into the detail about what they were taught, but it was so far beyond anything that most 10-year-olds would require to know. It wasn't just, this plus this makes that. It was nothing like that. It was very detailed.
So as a parent, that's really kind of put your nose out because you think that's your job, perhaps? I do. Well, of course I do. Yes, I absolutely do. And I understand that doesn't happen in many families. What I think I really found quite difficult was that when I looked at the letter again that we were all given, this is going to happen, there was no breakdown of exactly what they were going to be taught. It was all put in fairly nebulous, sort of rounded terms about teachers are helping them and confidence and blah, 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 which is very important. But when it really came down to it, they watched a birthing video. What 10-year-old really needs to watch a video of birth? I've never seen one, and I've got 3 children. Me neither. Francis, let's bring you in, because you think that this should be compulsory across the board for primary school children.
Certainly. I think it's about 2 things. It's about informing children of what's actually going on. Obviously, it needs to be done in a sensitive and delicate way. And it's also about giving them confidence so that, they can deal with a pretty scary world out there with the internet, with the child abuse scandals that have been happening. All of these sorts of things need to be dealt with a teacher who knows what they're doing in a kind of professional, calm, clear, informative way to give them confidence.
You know what, Francis? We are talking. And they want to reduce the age. 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old children. For me, this is far less about child welfare and child education and far more about government self-protection and school self-protection.
I think that's very unfair.
Well, schools, I think are terrified of parents saying,
let Francis answer.
Educate our children.
I think that really, obviously younger children need to understand the nature of relationships and they can be confusing, and children need a place to ask questions that perhaps they're not allowed to ask in other environments and maybe not at home. And in my experience, it is those vulnerable children that really suffer the greatest later on. And I do worry a great deal. I teach secondary students, and I can see the ignorance that is there that's deeply worrying, and they need to be educated, and I think we need to get together and really think about this.
Lots and lots of great messages from our viewers on this. This is from David Davies via Facebook. He definitely agrees with the plan. He says the only question, this is a really good question, is from what age?
Yes.
And that's the difficulty, isn't it? So what age would you be comfortable with having maybe your children or other children taught about this at school?
He's put his finger right on the exact central point. There is no correct age. There is no age. You lump a class of 35 9-year-olds together. You've got some who have a mental age of, or an emotional age.
So you think this shouldn't be taught in primary schools at all?
I don't think
I think we should be starting at reception, and when they're 4 or 5, you're going to be looking at how people relate to each other in picture books. That is, but it's also in the context of how loving relationships happen.
You have a small child. You have a boy. Would you be happy for him to be
absolutely?
Taught about this?
And he was brought up at a state primary school that had this, and it was very helpful for me as a parent because it did address some pretty awkward things that I had to deal with.
All about definition, though. We're talking about it, this. We're not defining that. And I had a very clear idea in my head of what I thought it was going to be. It turned out to be really very different to that. And there were a lot of parents I talked to.
That's about school communication.
Correct, exactly.
And they're working with parents.
We should know exactly what they're going to be taught.
Guys, we have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, Liz Fraser and Francis Gilbert.